What's going on YouTube? It's your boy 3MG here, back with another video, and today I'm going to let you guys know whether or not the PSVR is worth the $399 price range for the standard and the $499 for the bundle experience. Now, off the jump, I will say, do not purchase the $399 version of the PSVR, simply because it's just the VR headset itself. It doesn't come with the new camera, does not come with the motion controllers. It may come with a demo or so, but that's really all you get with it, so you're really missing a big piece of the experience. And with the games that are already launched with the PSVR, you're gonna kind of miss out on the fun if you don't have the motion controllers, as well as the new camera, which captures all 3D display of your movement, versus the standard camera that you can buy separate with your PS4, which is still kind of just capturing just the front end of your body. The PSVR features a 1920 by 1080 OLED screen display, but it actually captures from each eye. I think it's 960 by 1080, which is the reason why some people who've uploaded gameplay see that there's a black bar on the side, which is a bit annoying. Hopefully, you know, there is a patch or something, a system or software update which expands the OLED screens from each eye, because I personally don't like it in comparison with the Oculus Rift, which captures 2160 by 1080 on two OLED screen displays back to back on each eye. It has a way better pixel to each eye than the PSVR, so I just want to let you guys know that. Now, once again, the $399 standard PSVR is not really suggested in my opinion. I recommend getting the $499, which comes with the motion controllers, which are priced at $100. You get the $59.99 new 3D camera, which has similar features basically as a standard camera, but the overall experience of it capturing you in 3D is even better for the PlayStation VR experience. You can still live stream with the camera. You can do all that great stuff with it. More features, more fun for that. But yes, the $499 will feature probably a game or two. Even with the demos that come with it, it features the same headset, but it does come with the motion controllers and the actual camera itself. Now, this is the PlayStation VR headset itself. This accessory here, I have to say, and I'm gonna be really honest with you, it's one of Sony's best accessories yet to ever launch for PlayStation or something for PlayStation. Remember when the PlayStation Move came out? It just wasn't there for, you know, PlayStation. I think it was very early for its launch. Same thing with the Kinect. I think it was too early. I think the only, you know, console or brand that ever did it right was the Nintendo Wii with the motion controllers. I think that was really good. But as far as with Sony, I think the VR experience was definitely the best accessory they have ever launched. So I'm gonna go into depth, like what's going on with it, what's the games that are available. But first, just to show you guys, this is the VR headset. All the LED display lights. This is basically the tracking system for the camera. So you have to be at a distance, basically like 5 feet, or even like maybe 2-3 feet away from the camera for it to capture it all. So you have camera LED displays here in the backside, because some games may require you, and with the 3D experience and being in VR, you're able to turn around and get a whole 360 experience. So you have that, and as comfortable like a latex rubber padding from the back of your head even into the front of like your forehead, which allows you to have more comfort. Some people were worried that it might give them headaches. I myself was worried until I went to E3 and seen that the rubber padding on the side here that masks your face is actually really comfortable. It doesn't compress it or press it to your eyes or give you any kind of headaches. That was one of the big things I was worried about. Still, with it launching, one of the great things, it has an adjustable gear right here along with the button. Therefore, you can go ahead and stretch the VR, and it has another button right here to also, you know, try to size in with the face. So if you do have glasses and you feel like this may be uncomfortable, they do recommend you still wear your glasses, but that's why they have that display or have that mechanic where you can actually push and then push back in the actual VR headset so that it can still be more comfortable. So that I'm actually really impressed with. In terms of style, I think the PlayStation VR would have to be next to the HTC Vive. The HTC Vive has such a unique display. I like how it looks, the imprints, the style of it. The PlayStation VR looks very sleek and nice. The Oculus Rift, in my opinion, is like my least favorite as far as style goes, but performance-wise, it does a very good job. So far we're still speaking on the pros. Later on I'll speak on the cons. Another good pro is that it does come with this little adjustable, I wouldn't say an amp, but it's actually a little control system which allows you to adjust the volume up, volume down, a mute button, and a power button to, you know, turn on the actual VR. And it actually comes with a 3.5mm jack, therefore you could connect your headset, your Astros, your Turtle Beaches, and it also comes with actual headphones too, stereo headphones. for your PlayStation VR experience that comes with a mic as well. Similar to what the PS4 came out with, but it actually has 2 headphones instead of just 1. So I think that's pretty cool, and it actually works flawlessly. I used it on the PS4 just on the controller itself, and it works with no problem. You can still game capture gameplay, either connecting that headset or connecting your headsets. It doesn't take away from the Elgato, your OBS, your AverMedia. It doesn't take away from any of that. But yeah, I think overall the PSVR is very comfortable. Now we're going to speak on the games. Now, as far as the games, I was just so impressed with just the technology. That's why I think this is like one of the best pieces of technology we have gotten in today's date, along with the other VRs that are out. Once again, you got the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, even the Gear VR, which is definitely impressive to see that it's for mobile, and mobile games are starting to support the 360 degrees display for VR. So when I tried out most of the games, as you guys was watching, I did the Into the Deep gameplay. Even my mother tried it. I did Until Dawn, which is a horror game, but this time it takes place in like this circus, like carnival style, in a roller coaster, and it is a true, real 360 degree experience with VR. I was super scared. In some cases, the games look too real. Not real in the sense that I feel like I'm there, but like as if you're part of the action that's going on, and I'm super impressed with that mechanic. You know, I played that heist game that comes with the PSVR demo. These games really make you feel like you're part of the action. I mean, Drive Club VR, especially considering I have the wheels and the pedals, that game is amazing in VR. Like, I didn't think, like, not 1 second, like, I never thought that VR would be taken to this level. And I'm really impressed, and I think the timing in VR, as far as the Oculus, the Vive, even the PlayStation VR, the HoloLens, I think it's coming at the perfect time. You know, I've played Riggs, which is a 3v3 mechanized combat first-person shooter game, which is more like a esports type of title. I played Eve Valkyrie, I played Battlestorm. All these games are amazing, and they make you feel so immersive while you're in there. You feel like you're in the action. I think this is going to be the standard for horror games. I think people who play horror games or just the walking narrative games are going to really enjoy it. I'm hoping to see more third-party studios jump on board with this game. We're seeing that Battlefront is going to get this XY. I think the Galaxy DLC or some DLC where they're going to actually bring VR experience in it. You got Infinite Warfare, which is going to have a VR mode in it. You have Tomb Raider, which has something similar to a VR mode in it, and I just can't wait. Now, people want to know, how far do you need to sit, you know, between the camera, the VR experience, or whatnot? Well, the camera lens on the actual PlayStation 4 camera actually displays a little bit further back, so you have more room space. So if you're playing a game that requires you to sit down, you still have a lot of comfort space, a lot of comfort move. If like where I'm sitting right now is not that far from the camera, is because the lens displays it like that. So basically, you have a lot of room space to move around, which I actually like a lot. Versus the HTC Vive, which has a higher display, you know, the biggest downfall with that is that it requires 2 big motion sensor beams, and the installation on it is just super hectic. So yeah, you can play some games sitting down, but it's very uncomfortable. The actual room space requires more space in your room versus the PSVR. So yeah, if it has to come down to room space or which VR experience I may purchase, I may have to go with the actual PSVR or the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Rift sensor is not that big. It requires you could just put it right there. A lot of people use it, and it's control Xbox One controller ready on the PC. The HTC Vive, you know, and Oculus Rift have their own style of controllers, but once again, the HTC Vive is a little bit uncomfortable, and the spacing wouldn't be enough for someone like my room space, where my room is not that big. Now, one last thing I would like to say positive about the PSVR is that it actually works on the standard PS4. I don't have a PS4 Slim, and I don't have a PS4 Pro. I use this on my regular PS4 console, and it works flawlessly. So for those who are assuming that the PSVR was made for PS Pro, it doesn't make sense, because the PS4 Pro isn't out yet. They launched this out immediately. I used the PS4, the standard PS4 with the PlayStation VR, and it works without any issues whatsoever. Now, the problem with PSVR, and the only downside, is that we haven't had any AAA experiences. So there's really no AAA games that are VR ready. For example, we don't know that Infinite Warfare is going to be VR ready. We don't have Battlefield 1 that's VR ready. We don't have Gran Turismo out yet that's VR ready. The biggest game that we're waiting for to launch is actually Resident Evil 7. And I will say that kitchen mode in VR is ridiculous. That is so scary. The sounds, everything, the seeing the front and back, the hearing, everything that's going on, it is really scary. That's why I have such hopes, and I feel like VR is going to take off like greatly simply because of their horror games. But I'm waiting for more AAA experiences, and I don't know when we're going to receive that. You guys remember when the whole 3D thing became a thing, when PlayStation dropped with MotorStorm, the PS 3D TVs were coming out, the 3D TVs, they were trying to enable some games to come in 3D. to be 3D ready, and it just kind of didn't work out. That's why you don't see a lot of games now even launching in 3D or towards the end cycle of the PlayStation 3, because it just became so irrelevant. I hope that doesn't happen with the VR, whereas because the VR was actually a really good accessory and it is very fun. I'm not sure when we'll actually receive a AAA experience on the VR. That would be amazing, but I don't know if that's going to be anytime soon, considering it might take away from the actual game developing itself being people who don't have a VR. And I don't know what's the time lapse if they're going to release a regular game first and then VR or whatnot, but still safe to say that there's a lot of potential, and in hopes that we do get a AAA game soon. Now, my biggest con on the PlayStation VR would have to be the damn cable management. Cable management for me is a big thing, and this has so many wires. Once again, it's bundled with the HDMI cables, about like 2 of them. It comes with the VR cables, it comes with a display cable, it comes with some USB cables that you need to have plugged in. It comes in with the processor unit that basically powers this whole VR experience. It comes with all this, all these cables, and because they're, the VR, they gave you an extended cable so that you can have that much of an experience moving around depending on the games you play. It has a lot of cables, so I have to cover a lot of cables. I hate seeing all the wiring everywhere. It's bad enough that my room has a whole bunch of wires because of my desk, but having this actually adds more, and I just fear, like, the whole wiring thing and electricity and shit. But there's so much cables that I have to like wrap everything up, because I'm just sitting down. I'm not running around everywhere, but I'm just sitting down. That's like the biggest pet peeve that I have, the biggest issue I have, and the biggest con is just has to be the cable management. Another con with the PSVR is depending on your face structure. Now, the way I breathe heavy. So when I have this PSVR on, for some reason, when I'm breathing out of my mouth or my nose, it somehow gets captured with the actual PSVR, and it ends up fogging up my lens sometimes. Now, this doesn't happen often, but it has happened, multiple times, where now I'm breathing in playing Until Dawn, and all of a sudden now I start seeing it get fogged up. I'm gonna have to pause the game and have to wipe that off. So that may actually, determine whether or not you want to buy a VR or not, but this happens across all VRs. I've tried them. When I was playing Doom VR, it actually happened. But yeah, that was a bit of a problem for me. Every time I played, I noticed, like, why is the quality of the game looking bad? And it wasn't because of the game. It was simply because my eyes, me breathing was actually getting captured into the VR and was getting hit on the lens. So that's one of the biggest problems. Hopefully, there's like an adjustment, there are fixes for those who are going to buy VR later on. Me, I just have to, stick with just wiping that off or whatnot, whenever that happens. And lastly, because there isn't really that many cons for me to say at this moment, I haven't experienced any actual bugs or any problems whatsoever. I installed this thing the right way, plugged it in the right way on my PS4. The camera, everything is fine. Everything, I already understand how to use this thing. So the only con I would have to say is that it's not compatible with PC. That has to be my biggest problem, simply because I feel like if Sony wants to take that initiative and bring PS Now over to PC, and they're really trying to make people buy their products, why wouldn't you bring the PSVR over to the PC? I mean, once again, they're using the new camera, still using that same kind of USB style port on their PlayStation, which means it's a first party thing. If they ever do release the PSVR for the PC, because I hear that there's head tracking and methods to use the PSVR on PC, but it looks like it's a hassle. But I feel like if they ever decide to bring PSVR over to PC, the biggest problem is they're gonna make you buy like this adapter or whatnot that may be like $50-$60 in order to use it on the PC, because it seems like it's gonna be a hassle. It's not compatible with PC as of yet, and that's one of my biggest problems. Also hearing that some games like Outlast 2 won't be VR ready for the PS4. I really wish Sony could have actually gave out dev kits very early on to the developers, and I feel like they actually failed to do so, considering that developers wasn't aware of PS4 Pro, they weren't aware of PS Vita at the time, they weren't aware of the PSVR until like maybe mid or towards the late of the actual launch. So that's been a problem, and I really hope that soon we do get some bigger and better games, and I hope that this thing does become compatible with PC soon. Well, that ends the wrap up. Now, to be honest with you, do I personally feel like this is worth the purchase? In my opinion, I say for the $499, you getting the bundle, everything together, if you're not a casual gamer, but if you're someone who enjoys just playing a whole bunch of games, I say yes. If you're someone who's into sports only games, this is definitely not for you. If you're someone who's into wrestling, if you're someone who's into just regular RPGs, third person games, this is not for you. If you're someone who plays horror games, first person games, narrative based games, all these other games, even with sports or whatnot, but you're someone who's more general, who plays more games, I say this accessory here is definitely should be in your home, and you should definitely buy this product. Now, other than that, with the price being said, I do actually suggest you wait till you hear some announcements on some big games being announced for VR. Therefore, you don't have to feel like you spent so much money on just AA or just regular games. So that's really all I have to say about the PSVR. Some people had experienced bugs. I haven't really experienced that many bugs. Matter of fact, I haven't experienced any hardware nor software issues. Once again, for me personally, this has to be one of Sony's best launch accessories. I have not experienced any issues like that whatsoever. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, I'll have some gameplay up this weekend. My mother's playing the game as well, so let me know what you guys want to see. Hopefully I helped you guys decide whether or not this is a product that you feel like should be in your home. Once again, this only works on the PlayStation 4. For those saying, oh, it works on the Wii U or the Xbox One, all this is just a portable screen basically, and when you plug it in via HDMI, it allows you to just see it. It makes it seem like you're sitting at a movie theater. That's about it. You don't get no real VR experience across the board. It only works for the PS4. So yeah, it's your boy 3MG. Slap a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'm out of here. Peace.